At the high school, specifically, I am a college and career counselor who works with juniors and seniors. Thank you for coming in this evening. We have a very good and informative program for you. This is for those students who are planning to, or considering rather, participating in the College Credit Plus program. So we're going to discuss a few things this evening. Here's our agenda for tonight. We will go through have some opening remarks from Dr. David Martin, our Director of Curriculum and Instruction. We will review the student guide, which I will get to shortly. We will talk about some in-house CCP course offerings we do have here at the high school, considering College Credit Plus versus AP or Advanced Placement, which I'm sure most of you are familiar with AP, and maybe here to decide maybe which pathway may be best for you. We'll also have our some great presentations from our institutions we partner and work with. We have 4 folks here tonight who can tell you a lot about not only what their own institution provides, but CCP in general. And at the end of the evening, upstairs when you're done here, we have these college folks will be on hand to talk to you individually should you have any institution-specific questions. So without any further ado, I'm going to start things by welcoming Mr. Dr. David Martin up to the podium to say a few words.
All right. Good evening. My name is David Martin. I'm the Director of Curriculum and Instruction with the district. I will be brief, and I will be seated. So you're here tonight at this strongly encouraged meeting, and so you've met the first criteria of the process, so congratulations. My assumption is you've had that thorough discussion, student and parent, about the importance and gravity of this opportunity. So this might sound strange, but I hope after tonight we don't have to speak, and I'll tell you why shortly. I have to be the one that says no a lot of times. This is an awesome opportunity for students. CCP really can catapult students into higher education, academia. But please know, this is not for everyone. It is college level content, college level rigor, and the academic challenge is there. So please, please, please know that this is a great opportunity, but it is not for all students. So deadlines. You're here tonight, so that's great, or you're online. April 1st, please make sure that you submit your intent to participate by April 1st. It pains me, but I have to say no if you miss that deadline, and that is the first big deadline, so April 1st. Withdraw or drop, this is another one. You have to adhere to the withdraw window at the institution, participating institution. If you do not, if you try to withdraw after the window has closed, you'll be financially responsible. So again, I have to be the no guy, and I don't like doing that. And finally, please don't make any purchases textbook-wise or other class materials until you've checked first with our media center here at the high school. I wish you well in your CCP endeavors and opportunities. It can be a great experience, and again, I really hope we don't talk. So best wishes, everyone.
Thank you, Dr. Martin. So this is the first challenge of the evening. So we have here for the student guide, we have a QR code. So the easiest thing, I think, is if you have your phone, is to load this up on there and follow along. For those of you, probably a small number, who maybe don't have a smartphone or prefer a hard copy, I have a handful of the student guides up here on the front on this goldenrod paper. So if you do need a copy, you can kind of mosey on up here and grab it if you need to. Otherwise, I think for most of us, we're probably comfortable using the QR code and scrolling through on our phones. Okay, so this is just up here. These are the headings. So basically what you see here and what you see on your phone is what I'm going to go through step by step. And basically giving you an overview of the program in itself. So you're here because you're deciding whether or not you're going to participate. And before you participate, you should discuss the following, and this is mom and dad folks at home. Things to keep in mind. Future planning. So if you participate in this program, it can assist you in making future education and career decisions. You can explore post-secondary opportunities and review suggested pathways that we have in our course options book if you're thinking about what your end game is ultimately with the college courses. Number 2 is high school graduation. If you choose to participate in this program, you still have to meet your high school graduation requirements. So review the requirements, know your academic standing, and work with your counselor to ensure that the coursework you're taking makes you eligible for graduation. We do have students who may not step foot in this building hardly ever, if at all, especially in their last 2 years. If they're taking this CCP program full-time, you still need to make sure that you're meeting the high school graduation requirement or equivalents through CCP. Your scheduling. Participation in this program, whether it's on a full-time or even a part-time basis, means that your daily schedule is going to differ from that of a traditional high school student, as a portion of, or in many cases, the entirety of your day is going to be dedicated to your college courses. So for those of you who have taken college courses on your own or been through the college process, if you have a college course that's an hour and 20 minutes a couple times a week, that's really going to be difficult to manage that and then fitting that in with 40-minute high school courses, okay? So scheduling is a big consideration as to how you're going to plan out your day, even if you're doing a part-time CCP schedule. College level work. It's called college for a reason, or CCP. The key word is college. These are college level courses. They're accelerated and they're academically challenging. There is no distinction in a classroom between a CCP student and a traditional full-time college student as far as the professors, teaching assistants, and those folks are concerned. You need to make sure that your student, and if your student is here, that you're capable of keeping up with this environment, okay? This is not high school, and these are not high school courses. These are college-level courses. Transportation. Students must provide their own transportation to and from campus. In the last couple of years, I'm sure many of you know that online courses have become more popular, especially post-COVID, and are a viable option for many students who maybe don't want to make the drive to a campus. That said, college campuses still have traditional in-person classes, they have hybrid classes, and there are many reasons that you may need to get to campus. So if you find yourself in a situation where you don't have a car, you don't have a driver's license, or a combination of the two, you have to make sure you plan accordingly in the scenario or in the event you need to get yourself to campus. Extracurricular activities. Most of our students in CCP do other things. That might be band, that might be athletics, that might be music, drama, those types of things. CCP and us here at the high school, we don't always coexist on the same time schedule, okay? So students sometimes will say, well, how am I going to get to my practice on time if I have a later class? How am I going to get to my rehearsal? How am I going to do my band? You have to plan that out on your own. That is the expectation. If you're doing the CCP program, you have to know and accept the fact that you're going to have to balance your time and schedule yourself so that you're not having to be in two places at once. Okay, so program highlights. This program can provide you a number of opportunities for students. The first one is you have the opportunity to take a wide variety of courses that might not be offered at the high school. I do think, and we boast, Dr. Martin, that we have a wide variety of electives and options here at the high school. At the colleges, that said, do have, courses and different things that we do not offer that students may be interested in taking. Number 2 is you have the advantage of getting exposure to college-level academic rigor while having the flexibility of maybe taking 1 or 2 classes. So, as opposed to that freshman year where you're maybe taking 12 or 15 credit hours in adjusting to college, oftentimes students may start with a class or maybe 2 classes that they're not overwhelmed, but getting that exposure to that college-level rigor. Number 3 is you will receive both secondary high school credit and post-secondary college credit for these courses. College semester courses are worth 1 full high school credit, so it makes them equivalent, a college class that's a semester, to a year-long high school course. I call it, from a simple standpoint, the 2-for-1, okay? So 1 semester college course is worth 1 credit, which is basically double what you'd get for a high school course in that time. Number 4 is courses that have an AP course equivalent in a given subject area offered at the high school receive AP grade weighting, okay? So for those of you who are familiar with how the weighted scale works, our AP courses have a 5.0 weight, where traditionally we're a 4.0 scale. AP courses that fall into this, college credit plus courses that fall into this category receive that same weight. Considerations for the program. So obviously for all of the various advantages, there's certainly some things to be mindful of and some disadvantages to consider. Number 1, we touched on already a little bit. You may have reduced opportunities for participating in high school activities. That's athletics, student groups, clubs. District and state eligibility requirements should be carefully considered. Okay, so state tests, different college entrance exams, those types of things. Lower failing grades in your college courses will impact your cumulative GPA, and grades earned through CCP courses are part of your high school record and will be reflected on your high school transcript. I think one of the pieces of misinformation that get out there is that students sometimes think, I can try this college course. If I don't do well, it's not a high school class, so I'm just going to say I don't want it on my transcript. If you take that course, if you complete that course, regardless of what your final grade is, that course is going to be part of your academic record. It's going to be on your high school transcript, and that will be factored into your GPA. You will need increased time for travel and for studying from your post-secondary institutions. A big one that we run into, especially if students take CCP in their freshman or sophomore year, is this class that I'm in requires far more time than I'm used to. I can't write a 9-page paper. I don't know how to write a 9-page paper. I don't know how to use MLA-style format. I don't know how to do a works cited page. These are things that, if you're in this program, you have to learn how to do or be willing to dedicate yourself to. Okay? So just things to keep in mind. Scope and content of these courses may differ from your high school courses, and that can, when you're talking about translating, whether it's a state proficiency test. Oh no, did everybody have a chance to get the QR code? All right, we're safe for now. We'll just let this go. Number 5, if you fail a course or withdraw past the college's add drop deadline, and this is very crucial, and I'm going to let these folks really reiterate this point in their own presentations, how their institutions handle adding, dropping courses. The general idea is, if you withdraw from a course past a certain date set forth by the university, okay, that course is going to be considered a withdraw fail. It's going to end up on your transcript, and that grade is going to be the same weight that an F failing grade would be. So it can affect the credits you need to graduate, and you will be held, I know Mr. Martin, this is our biggest point, or one of them, you will be held financially liable for that course. So the math is, if you take what the cost per credit hour is, and you multiply that by whatever, so if it's $120 per credit hour, and I'm in a 3 credit hour course, and I fail that course, the F is factored into my GPA, and you will get from the school fees here at the school, we'll put that on your fees, and that's going to be $360, okay? So just keep that in mind. Sometimes folks don't quite think about that right off the bat. You have to be mindful of all of the caveats and some of those drawbacks of the college courses. Okay. So steps to follow. So if you're listening up here and you still say, okay, this is a great idea for me or my student, this is what we're going to do, you want to go home and talk it over, okay? So we're throwing a lot of information at you. Go home, talk it over, discuss what we've talked about here. Think about if this is what you want to do. Talk to the institutional representatives. This is why we love having these folks here, and at the end, we'll give you an opportunity to talk to them on a kind of a one-on-one or individual basis, because they can give you an idea of, okay, if you're looking at my institution, this is how the program works. Submit the intent to participate form by April 1st, okay? So we had one QR code already we gave you this evening for the student guide. At the end, we will provide a QR code for the intent to participate form as well. This needs to be submitted no later than April 1st. If you fail to submit this form by the deadline, you will be unable to participate in the program for the 24-25 school year. Okay? So you have some time. I will tell you that I know folks are busy, things come up, we forget, we have a lot of deadlines and various things as parents and students to keep track of. Make sure if you're considering this program that you do not miss that deadline. We are very firm on saying the only way that you can get, past that deadline is superintendent permission or talking to Mr. Martin, and I'll tell you, in recent years, not many. I don't think anybody. So just make sure you're keeping in mind that deadline. It's not a difficult form, but you need to do it. Okay, the next part, that's the high school piece. So the intent form basically says, okay, from the BBH standpoint, we are giving you permission to move forward to participate in this program. The next one is to complete the admission process for your chosen institution. So how that's going to work is you're going to request that your transcript be sent, okay, using a transcript request form. And that is, if you're on this, the school student guide, we have hyperlinks built in here. Now, we will send this out later, but many of you are probably already getting to the point where you can go and look. We have the transcript request form available to you. The other part is to apply. So you're going to apply to that institution using their CCP application. You're going to request that your transcript be sent. You're going to meet with your school counselor, so that's myself or whoever your appropriate counselor is, and verify that you've been accepted and that we can move forward with the scheduling piece. You're going to talk about credit eligibility. We're going to look at courses, and we have to complete an authorization form. It can be called an authorization to attend form or an approval form, but you need to go to your counselor before you actually register for classes through an advisor. You want to get your verified schedule from your institution. So once you go through the process, you've applied, we've sent your transcript, you've been accepted, you talk with your counselor, you understand, okay, these are the courses I'm looking at taking. You get your schedule, okay? And for those of you, obviously, in this boat here, if we're looking at the summer or the fall of next year, because colleges go by semester, probably April, May, and into June is when we are going to be expecting that we get a schedule that says I'm taking these classes during this semester, and at that point, once we confirm you have a schedule, we will make any changes to your high school course schedule, okay? The next thing, once you are set with your classes, you're going to secure a syllabus from your course professor, and this is another huge piece of the CCP puzzle, okay, that folks have to be aware of and have to know how to navigate. You need to check with our media center. Once you have a syllabus, you should have a textbook or required textbooks. You will go to the media center or at the middle school for any middle school folks. You will ask, do you have this book available? I need this book for this class. We'll check if we have that book. If we don't have a textbook and you need to purchase it, you will purchase that book through these institutions' CCP book purchasing policy, all right? I know I'm a little Okay, so here's what the formula is. It's 3 credits of high school. We multiply that by 3. It gets us, any math whizzes in here? 9. We take that number 9, we subtract it from 30, and that gives us how many credits? 21 credits. So 21 credits, college credits, is the total number of credits you are permitted to take through the summer, fall, and spring of a given academic year. Okay? Now, this is where students sometimes don't think about it. There might be, traditionally, college courses are 3 credit hours. I know Tri-C in particular, Cuyahoga Community College, has math courses that might be 4 or 5 credits, or sciences that have a lab component that might be 5 credits. Students don't sometimes pay attention to how many credits they're taking. Now, we're pretty diligent, and I have learned through 11 years of doing this, that I'll do this formula and tell you pretty quickly, okay, here's how many credits you're going to be able to take. How are we going to plan out your year accordingly? So College Credit Plus students are in a position a little bit different from some other folks where you really have to think, okay, by semester, what am I going to take? Because if you get into that 21 credits, let's say, that this student has, and you take 15 credit hours, let's say you take 3 credit hours in the summer, and then you take 15 credit hours in the fall, you're ambitious. Now you're at 18, now you got 3 left for the spring. And I think what happens is students will handcuff themselves and say, well, I want to take this many classes, I need to take this class, but don't realize that they're running out of runway, okay? You're running out of time, you're running out of classes that you can take per what we will cover financially, okay? So just be mindful of that. We will work through this with you as students and as parents, but again, this is a good formula to kind of commit to your mind and get familiar with, because you're going to be thinking about it a lot. All right, course failures and withdrawals. So classes failed or withdrawn with an F or an equivalent failing grade will receive an F on the high school and your college transcripts. The failing mark is calculated into your high school and your college GPA. If you do not receive a passing grade, the district will seek reimbursement from you for the amount of state funds paid to the college on your behalf for that particular college course. The school district may withhold grades, credits, and received for high school courses taken until reimbursement has been made. Again, I know we've hit this a couple times in this presentation, but we're really trying to impress upon you as students, you have to understand the implications of not passing a course or withdrawing from a course past the add-drop deadline. For course withdrawals, again, failure to file necessary withdrawal forms of any CCP course or to do so outside of their window will result in a withdrawal fail grade, and the student will be held financially responsible for all costs associated with that course. It is very important that you understand, if I enroll in a class, what is the last possible day that I can withdraw from that course, okay? And here is where that maturity piece comes in that a lot of times high school students don't realize. If you come to me at 3 o'clock on the last day you can withdraw from a class where you need a signed piece of paper, and I'm not there, or I'm in a meeting, or the college folks are busy, you've missed it. You need to plan ahead. Don't wait until the last minute to do things. Oftentimes I think at the high school level, we're here to service families and students, and we care about kids, and we want to give you the benefit of the doubt if maybe you've made an oversight and you've spent, too much time procrastinating and now you need something, and we'll try to help you out. But on the college level, and I think these folks can attest to, it is not the same, okay? If you wait too long, if you're looking for somebody to do something for you at 9 o'clock at night, sending panicking emails, typically it's not going to happen, okay? So plan accordingly. That's what we're trying to impress upon you. Okay, the last piece I really have for you before I let these folks kind of take the wheel and we move on a little bit here is approved and unapproved purchases, okay? This is something that we have noticed over the last couple of years. We've really had to impress upon folks. CCP students are responsible for knowing what materials they are approved to buy and purchase, and which of those are unapproved. If student purchases anything that's an unapproved material, they will be held financially liable and asked to reimburse the district. So approved items are obviously, I think, textbooks, workbooks, course packs, digital books, e-books, things that you need that are required for that course that should be laid out on your course syllabus, okay? Now, if you do have a hard copy book, again, the process is you must complete the electronic book needs form, We have the link embedded here in the student guide for you to reference. You're going to fill out that form. You're going to go to the Media Center. They're the folks who receive the response from your form. They'll check if they have your book available. If the books are available, we will give you the book on loan and you will return it. If you need to purchase the book through their CCP purchasing policy of each institution, that book is still viewed as BBH property. So even if you purchase that book through a college bookstore, you are to return it to our Media Center and to our district at the conclusion of the semester. Unapproved purchases. This is where sometimes, especially high school students, and most of the times we understand it might be a harmless mistake or an oversight, but we've had students who've gone to the bookstore and bought, flash drives for computers. We've had them sometimes even go as far as to buy a sweatshirt or clothing or just college garb and posters and things that's not what this money is for, right? So just make sure, use your common sense, use these guidelines, but basically approved purchases are going to deal with books or anything directly related to what you need for your course. And then anything outside of that, if you're not sure, I think the best policy is to check with your counselor, talk to us first so we can kind of guide you appropriately. Okay. Duplicate textbooks is the last part of this unapproved conversation. In recent years, we have seen several incidents where students buy the duplicate copy of a textbook, meaning we have the book in stock here in our Media Center. Students don't check. They go and buy the book anyway. If you are in that situation, please be advised that you will be required and charged for the cost of the additional book and have to give it back to the bookstore. Okay? And hopefully, meaning if you give it back to the bookstore, they will refund us the money. If there's an issue, you may be held liable for that copy of the book. So good common sense, check with the Media Center before doing anything in terms of purchasing books from an institution's bookstore. Okay. No. Okay. All right, so I guess we're having some internet issues. I'll do the best I can. Again, you're not missing much up here on my screen, but just a couple other pieces to hit before I bring up our institution folks. Okay, so use the QR code at the end of this presentation to access the intent form. If we don't get the computer running, I have hard copies that Mrs. Genazzo has taped up outside. So computer works, computer doesn't work, we have opportunities to do the form the old-fashioned way anyway. This form should be submitted no later than April 1st. After April 1st, you will need special permission from the superintendent to participate in this program, and as we've said before, those circumstances are going to be very few and far between. Okay? So April 1st, mark it right now. Make sure it's in your mind because that's what you're going to need. We will have the information from this presentation on our high school website and our school counseling page. If you go to the school counseling tab off of the high school website, I know you can't see it, it's just showing some arrows. We have a college career page, and then we have a CCP link. Go ahead and click that. Everything that was covered tonight will be available on that page, I would say probably within the next couple days. Okay. So we do have Ms. Melissa Koenig from Tri-C, or Cuyahoga Community College here. In addition to speaking just in general about CCP, a couple notes. We do offer 3 in-house courses here at the high school that she'll talk a little bit about when she's coming up here. It's College Composition 1, College Composition 2, those are English courses, and we offer Calculus 3 Math. So different than maybe from a traditional college course is those are taught in our building by our instructors. They're fully transferable to all Ohio State colleges, and to take these classes, I think this is kind of a misunderstanding at times from folks. You still need to follow the CCP process for applying, being accepted, and meeting all the requirements to be a college student, even though they're taught in our building. Okay, so we call this College Credit Plus in College Options Night for a good reason. I know a lot of folks might be sitting here and saying, okay, I've heard about the CCP program. I'm thinking about taking AP classes. What should I do? Do I need to look at one or the other? Do I need to do a combination of the two? And that's why we ask that you come here and you listen to these folks and you really make an informed decision. AP courses, and again, I'm just going through some bullet points so you're not missing anything that's going to blow you away. But I'll kind of go through it. And for those of you who are maybe, students who are freshmen, sophomores, or maybe you middle school folks who don't know a lot about advanced placement courses, AP courses are college-level courses that are taught in the high school. They do reflect and mirror often what's taught in introductory college-level courses. At the end of the class or course, students will take an AP exam, a standardized test that measures how well they have mastered the college level or coursework in that class. Students who students who have a score of 3 or higher, the exam is out of 5. On those AP exams can or potentially will earn college credit or placement into advanced courses in college. The AP program is nationally recognized, where College Credit Plus is a state program that's recognized, or rather has to be followed by rule according to the public universities, institutions in the state of Ohio. AP is a nationally recognized program where credit earned through AP courses really should be, if you earn the required test score, accepted anywhere at any institution that you choose to go to. We currently, and this is very impressive, and I think a feather in our cap, offer 29 AP course offerings at the high school. So if you're not sure which way you want to go, if you're confused about how College Credit Plus might factor in and what's better for you, and I tell students this all the time, this is an individual case-by-case basis decision. It's not that College Credit Plus is better than advanced placement or that advanced placement is better than College Credit Plus. It really comes down to, do I know my future plans? What works best for me as an individual, as a student? Okay, so without any further ado, I am going to bring up Mr. Greg Derringer from the University of Akron, and
I can go low tech too, that's fine.
I think yeah.
No problem. Okay. All right. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Director. Yeah. Okay, so he did the heavy lifting tonight because he covered all the general information for you. So I'll be very brief with some information for the University of Akron, but as Mr. Dreipolcher said, my name is Greg Derringer. I'm our director of the College Credit Plus program, and very similarly, I've been working with this program for decades now in its former iteration that used to be called post-secondary enrollment options. So I guess I can never say I've seen it all because we still encounter new things, it seems like every semester, but some common things that you'll want to kind of keep in mind. So that intent form, April 1st, your number one priority. That is non-binding, so if you fill that out for the school and you decide you're not going to do it, that's perfectly fine. But you do need to have that in whether you're applying to any of the colleges or universities because we cannot technically accept your application unless you want to self-pay at that point. So for the University of Akron, we follow the state standards. So back in 2020, during the pandemic, students weren't able to take standardized tests. So at that time, the state said, hey, we're going to actually shake it up a little bit, and we're going to determine also that eligibility for students to participate based on grade point average. So the state kept that policy moving forward. So there are multiple ways that a student now can be determined eligible to participate in CCP. So the first way is by grade point average. So that grade point average is a 3.0, listen very closely, unweighted cumulative high school GPA. So that's the overall unweighted high school GPA. Now the program is technically available for students in grades 7 through 12, but notice that's a high school GPA. So if a student doesn't have a GPA, the second way that they can qualify is based on a standardized test score. So at the University of Akron, as a four-year university, we do require, if the student doesn't have that qualifying GPA, to take either the ACT or the SAT test. We also follow the state standards for that. So students have to have at least one qualifying score. So on the ACT test, that's an 18 English, 22 math, or 22 reading. So one of those three on the ACT. Students may also take the SAT test, so those qualifying scores include either an evidence-based reading and writing score of 430 or a math score of, 480 or a math score of 530. So those are test scores if the student doesn't have a 3.0 unweighted cumulative high school GPA. So there's also a kind of a carve out just below that. So the state says, hey, wait a second, if a student doesn't have a 3.0, let's look at least if they have a 2.75, and then that kicks individually to the admissions offices at our universities, and we'll look at the actual transcript of that student to determine, and the state standard says you have to have A's or B's in relevant courses, so our admissions office would look at that then to see if the student may also qualify with at least a 2.75 without having to take the ACT or SAT. Middle school applicants, there is a possibility that a middle school applicant possibly could already have a high school class. So depending on what you may be taking in the curriculum, if the student does have a high school credited class, even as a middle schooler, we would take that into consideration without test scores. So that's your eligibility requirements. And again, those are the state standards now implemented back in 2020. To apply to the University of Akron, the number one most important thing is the submission of the online application. That is the same requirement for all of our universities. So you would have to apply to University of Akron by completing the online CCP application. Just a couple things to note with that. Students, if you do not already have a personal email address, you will need to complete one, because to start the application, you have to have an email that you can actually use for a sign-in. That does need to be a student email address and not a parent email address, please, because there'll be questions on the application asking for parent emails. So it does need to be an individual student email. The reason that we say a personal email is oftentimes, and I don't know if this is the case at Brecksville, oftentimes schools cannot receive outside emails, so they can only receive internal. So please make sure you have set up a Gmail or a Hotmail or whatever personal email account, students, when you are completing the application. Once the application is completed, there are a couple additional pieces of material that must be submitted. So one of those is unique to the University of Akron. We have a signature page which requires a student, parent, and counselor signature. So it's kind of identifying to us that everybody has had a discussion and is aware that the student is applying. And then there's a standard state form called a permission slip. You're going to see that for every one of our universities. That's a state mandated form. That form is actually acknowledging that the student will be taking college-level courses that possibly could have mature content or subject matter, so you are acknowledging that, and that content cannot be altered regardless of the student's age. So that's the premise of taking a college class is you're following the college curriculum, so students and parents are going to sign that permission slip to turn that in. Again, that's a standard form for all of our universities. And then lastly, what we would need is either the middle school or the high school transcript, and then from there it would be determined if any type of test scores are required. Please note that if a student does apply without test scores, regardless of their GPA, depending on the future courses that the student plans to take, they may still need to do some type of placement testing through the University of Akron. So for example, to take a social science class like psychology at Akron, it does require a reading score. So a student could be admitted based on their high school GPA, but then still need to do a reading placement test through the university to qualify to take that specific course. So placement testing is determined by the actual courses that the student wants to take. Very simple process. Once the student gets all their materials in, our admissions office will review that and determine the eligibility. Students that qualify get their acceptance letter, and then after that is when there's also some action steps that need to take place. Each university does this differently. At Akron, we do require our students to attend an orientation program. So for summer and fall classes, students would attend orientation starting as early as May, and then those programs run throughout the entire summer, so that is time sensitive. The sooner the student applies, the sooner they're admitted and they go through this process, they could get to those orientation programs sooner. So just make sure that you're paying attention. That's why the email is very important. And for that process, we are emailing that personal email address for the student as well as parents so that you're all kind of involved in that process then. Just a couple other things I'll add here real quick. At the University of Akron, as far as course options, students have a couple different methods. They could drive to our campus, and you're looking probably a little bit, maybe about 35 minutes, but on top of that, students need to give themselves time to park and then walk and get to their classroom building. So I'd say you probably would at least want to pad for about 45 minutes from that standpoint to get back and forth if you are still taking some classes at the school. And then the other method of classes would be online, which is probably, I think for all of our institutions, has what we've seen grow the most over the last few years. I will throw a caution out with online classes. Online classes work for some students, they don't work for some students. And the biggest factor that you would need to consider with that is the time commitment. And a good way to think of it is when you're taking an online class, if that class were to meet in person, let's say it's a 3-credit college class, it would meet in person for approximately 3 hours per week. When it's an online class, you still have to factor in that 3 hours per week just kind of for the lecture content that you're keeping up with for the class. That doesn't include reading your textbook, doing your homework assignments, any other activities that may be required. So very quickly, a 3-credit online class could become 6 to 9 hours per week just to stay on top of that coursework. So it does demand quite a bit of time management for online classes, and it also demands that students are proactive and communicate effectively. So if there's clarification that's needed in those classes, students need to feel comfortable with emailing professors, calling them on the phone, setting up virtual appointments, doing whatever they need to be successful in those classes. Where I've seen students fail miserably is they underestimate the time commitment and they're afraid of communicating with somebody when they get behind. So those are the 2 key things to be successful in online classes if that is something that you're considering. So at this point, I'm going to kind of leave it there. I do have a handout which covers all of the eligibility requirements and the application steps up on the table. So feel free to stop and see me afterwards. I'll be happy to answer any questions. So thank you.
Now I'm going to welcome up Collins Vankara from Cleveland State University.
Hello. So I'm just going to plug in the USB, bring up the presentation, and we'll get started from there. Saying it's not recognizable. Yeah, try that one too. Never seen that before.
Yeah, if I ran it back there and you just gave me
Yeah.
thumbs up, would that work?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
All right, so yeah, my name is Collins Vankara. I'm a senior admissions counselor at Cleveland State. So primarily, I do admissions, so my territory is Cuyahoga County, all the way down to Central Ohio and then Columbus. So a little bit about Cleveland State is we currently enroll 15,000 students each year. Scholarships are from $1,000 to $8,000 for freshmen, so that's for incoming freshmen. We're also test optional as well. We don't require the ACT or SAT, but we do require the ACT, SAT for CCP if the GPA is around 2.75. If you have around a 3.0 GPA, A's and B's on the transcript, we don't require the ACT or SAT. Also at Cleveland State, we're investing $650 million. So new things on campus that we offer right now is Barrio, Starbucks, Chick-fil-A, our Viking Public House, which is a wood-fired pizza, oven, sports bar, Viking themed. Also, if you're 21 on campus, you could drink on campus. So depending on your major or minor, we do internships. Internships, we provide around 3,000 each year. We have a staff of 15 that basically their job is to find internships and co-ops for our students on campus. At CSU, you could pick a major and a minor. I did business and a minor in biology. You can just do a straight major if you want to. But as a CCP student, kind of look at majors and minors and career paths that you want to get into. Because just with our partnerships with companies nearby, especially the Cleveland Clinic, UH Metro, EY, Fifth Third, Key Bank, Sherwin-Williams Progressive, we have a lot of private and public companies nearby. Also, we provide RTA passes for each of our students as a college credit plus, and then also we're around 20 minutes away. So we're close to home. It's a really great school, state school. If we get the PowerPoint up, I could go further in depth with the CCP. But also, if you're interested in engineering or business majors, we do require stats for business. Engineering, we do require calculus. So with over 200 majors, we provide bachelor's, master's, doctoral programs. New programs that are coming to campus now is biomedical engineering, and that's going to be a bachelor's, master's, and doctoral level. We also have nurse practitioner coming to campus, and then eventually nurse anesthesia. If any student is interested in pre-med, we have partnerships with NeoMed. As long as you're a major in biology, chemistry, or health science tract, we save over 35 seats each year for medical school. We're also partnering with Case Western, so there's a lot of new partnerships that are coming in play. Has anyone seen the big CSU tower, which is Rhodes Tower? That's actually going to become student housing. We're going to provide a cheaper option for students to live on campus. And then what's cool about that is you get a lake view. Also on campus, we have Playhouse Square. So if anyone's interested in acting film, we're the only school in Ohio that offers that. A lot of our students were actually in Netflix films. One of the films they did help was a new LeBron movie and the Avengers back in 2012. Is it working? It's not working at all? Okay. So basically, to be a CCP student, you just apply. I have flyers on my table. You get to scan it with your phone or just take the flyer itself. So we do need a parent authorization form, a counselor form, also a mature consent form as well. Basically, just a transcript. If you do fall within the 2.75 again, ACT SAT is required. Also, we accept students at a 2.3 GPA, but they need to have higher ACT and SAT scores. Also, some basic classes that a lot of our CCP students do take, Comp 1 and 2. A lot of times they'll take a math class, and then sometimes if they know what they want to do as a major or minor, they'll take the upper level class. So let's say I'm a chemistry major, I want to go in chemistry, I could take Chem 1 and Chem 2 basically in high school, and then once I graduate from my CCP, and then also high school, I could just fleshly make it right into Cleveland State, and then have those classes completed, and then declare that major. So it's just nice about it is that you start at a four-year institution, and you just go right back in that four-year institution, because you're familiar with it. So I don't have the presentation, it's not loading, but we have flyers on the table. Thank you guys for coming tonight, I appreciate it a lot.
And I'll say this, folks, I will get the slides from these fine people, and when we put the information out there on our website, we'll have this. So the things that you're not seeing right now, we will get to you. So I'm going to bring up our third, Ms. Melissa Koenig from Cuyahoga Community College.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Melissa Koenig. I'm a recruitment specialist at Tri-C. I'm not a CCP coordinator, so if you're ready to come up and bust out the questions about this biology and this lab and whatnot, that's great. I will be happy to defer you to our CCP coordinators. I will field questions. I recruit all students, so I could tell you about I would highly encourage you, if you have not yet asked around in your inner circles, your sports circles, all your groups of people you know, your parents know, you will come across people who have gone to Cuyahoga Community College, and I feel like that's the best advertisement possible for our institution, because the people that you know who have life experiences or decided to change their career, or there's so many things. So I highly recommend that you check that out. We say Tri-C where futures begin. That's a beautiful tagline, but we don't always hear their concluding stories. So I'd be happy to tell you about the 5 people in my life I know. They're engineers at a private mechanical engineering company. One's an accountant at NASA. One went and works for Rocket Mortgage. You might have heard of them. My cousin did the vet tech program, and she now works at Cleveland Metro Park Zoo. She did take an internship in Florida and worked on rhinos, cheetahs, and giraffes, because we don't have those animals at Tri-C in Parma. We have cats, dogs, a couple like lizards. So really cool opportunities. And I didn't tell you about the 5th one. My brother-in-law is a police officer, and actually he's in your city now. He used to be in another one, but he's doing great work here. So just ask in your inner circle. So if nothing else, just do that, go home, ask, because people have done really great things. Plus, CCP student success stories are all over our website. So there's a whole bunch of things I could rattle off and share with you, but all the information is on the website. So parents, if you're not sleeping, you can dive into that website head first, go to the Tri-C webpage, click Get Started, and CCP, or College Credit Plus, and you'll see the entire checklist. So everything's there. As a parent, and this is my opinion, my house is not ready for CCP. We're a whole lot of silly up in my house, but I know my kids and their student skills, and I also know their maturity levels. So this is a family decision. So I highly recommend you take this home, digest it. There's lots to chew on. That maturity content one, that always is a kicker to me, because I'm like, our students have devices and TikTok and Snapchat. Like, are they mature enough? Yeah, they're getting mature content some way or another. But just keep that in mind, because your students are going to go to school with adults. They're going to go and participate in online discussions or get reading assignments. CCP students do not have a special syllabus. They get the same thing everyone else gets. So that's just important for you to consider, but if that makes you uncomfortable, take that home to the dinner table. CCP students look different depending on their everything, their rigor, their interest, what major they want to do. If they've already planned out that they're going to be a doctor or nurse practitioner, that's great. You can use all the tools on the Tri-C webpage. We have a transfer center designed for you making the step from the 2-year institution that Tri-C is to the 4-year institution. So you can take a look at what it takes to be a nursing major at Tri-C, and then work backwards and compare that list, the program sequence, because every major on our webpage has one, and compare it to the CCP Level 1 list. So you could see and start breaking down. If you want anatomy and physiology, you're going to need that biology 1500 first. So you can play the game and work backwards. Truly, that kind of information I can help you with. Our CCP office is really a processing entity. So the CCP email address that you can see on our information is all for submitting documentation. So if you're looking to have a conversation about what this looks like and how you'd piece together what you'd take, you have amazing resources in all of your children's teachers, but the fabulous staff here, Dr. Martin, and you've got great resources and people that know your kid and know their academic interest and how they perform in the classroom and what's their struggle points. So consider all that. Tri-C CCP students look different, some of them, and I hope you take advantage. There are 3 courses in your high school that you can take without any interruption. You don't have to navigate transportation, even though every CCP, every Tri-C, these acronyms, man. The Tri-C students all get a free bus pass, so if you're gonna go to a 4-year institution, you're probably gonna get on a shuttle at some point. So get familiar with our RTA. It also works on the Rapid. You can go down to a Guardians game on the weekend. A bus pass works for all that. Just a side note there. So some CCP students will take a class or 2, or just the ones that are offered here at Brecksville Broadview Heights. Great. But some students are going to crush it and say, this is my jam. I'm in 7th grade and I can do this. Like, get out of the way, world. And they'll do and be aggressively pursuing and hitting all those 30 credits per year and have an associate's degree by the time they're graduating from high school. That is possible, it's rigorous, but it's possible. So crazy to think, but if you're halfway to your bachelor's degree on the state of Ohio's dime, that's a pretty great deal. So, to echo Mr. Dreipolter's statements, everyone in this room should do an intent to participate. You're not committing yourself to anything. It is not going to come back to bite you later. Just do it. Even if you think you're like, yeah, maybe next year, you might have different decisions or different thoughts, trains of thought, later in the semester or next fall, and you want to take a class in the spring, and they're going to say, no, you didn't fill out the intent to participate from last year. So everything piles on, so please just be cautious and give yourself the option. That's an annual form. When you apply to Cuyahoga Community College, the easiest way to do it is, well, all of you do your intent to participate. All of you go see your high school counselor, talk to your grade school counselor, whatever you fall, and just get the conversation had. Like, think about it, okay? Everyone do that. If you're thinking of Tri-C, do our free Tri-C application. So you're special because there are so many processes in place designed to keep you from billing yourself. Nobody wants that to happen to you, so there are holds of all kinds on your account. So when you want to add a class, drop a class, all of that needs the permission of the student, the parent, the high school counselor, and at Tri-C, also the Tri-C in-person counselor on campus. So all of you are going to do your intent to participate. You're all going to do the high school counselor conversation if you're here at this meeting. Apply to Tri-C, select the College Credit Plus or current middle school or high school student. By answering that first question, it dictates all the logic for the rest of the application, so make sure you're selecting the correct one. And then release your high school transcript. I could go down the rabbit hole with you and look at all the ways you can satisfy CCP criteria, but I'm gonna just say apply and release your high school transcripts and then check your email. Like, we'll let you know if you need to do testing. All that information, again, you can digest the website. It's rich with information. The tricky part sometimes for students is they forget that they need permission every semester by getting that ATA form on file. So, sorry, acronyms again. Authorization to attend. So this is the form that says that the parent, the high school counselor, and then eventually our Tri-C staff are all signing off on the fact that you have permission to take this class or this class. And then if you want to drop it, you got to do the whole thing again. You got to get everyone's permission. And again, this is not a process for procrastinators. So with the joys of state legislation, there are a lot of steps within this process. It's state funding. That's great. It's a great deal, but you cannot wait. So our CCP office at Tri-C is small but mighty. And again, they're processing. So you submit your documentation. Please don't send follow-up emails that ask, like, where are we at, where are we at? And I get it, it takes time. So all those state boxes need to be checked. If you want updates, there are two 24/7 resources you can use. One's our 6000 number, 216-987-6000. Whatever you do, at whatever office you contact at Tri-C, it really helps us for you to say, and self-identify that you're a CCP student, because all of your rules are different. It's super fun, but I could be giving you bad information if I think you're a high school graduate. Oh, everyone loves the live chat too. Our website /live chat. Okay. How many in the audience are thinking of a four-year institution? Thanks. Okay, great. So again, you can map that out. You can work backwards. Our transfer center is a real place. You can make an appointment with them. They can bust out what it might look like to have this major and move forward. And finally, if you have not been on campus, please consider visiting. You're all off President's Day, right? Yeah, February 19th. So if you haven't been on campus, there's a lot of great things to see and amazing resources. So I hope I get to meet you then. Thanks so much.
Okay, and our last but certainly not least presenter is our local, The Ohio State University representative, Ms. Tracy Schumann.
Thank you, everyone, and good evening. Again, my name is Tracy Schumann, and I serve as Associate Director of Undergraduate Admissions at The Ohio State University. The College Credit Plus program at Ohio State is what we call our Academy program. And much like you heard this evening, those dates and deadlines and forms and requirements are going to be consistent and important across any college or university that you're applying to. What I want to highlight in our Academy program is that admission to it mirrors the competitiveness of our new first year admissions process. So students who are currently seniors in high school, the profile, the criteria, admission to our Academy program is very similar to that. For those of you who are familiar with Ohio State, it is a competitive admissions process, and so students applying are typically performing very well in their high school coursework. They are taking advantage of the rigorous options available to them. They're maximizing and going above and beyond those minimum high school graduation requirements. They're actively involved in leaders in activities throughout their high school or community. And for students through autumn of '25, we continue to be test optional. So those of you who are juniors can still apply to Ohio State, not only as new first year students, but Academy students as test optional. We have not decided years on yet what we plan to do. But those of you who would like to submit an ACT or SAT test score can certainly do that. We do require those to come officially from the testing agency. And again, those students who do submit those scores, I would encourage you to do that if you fall within our middle 50% range. I do have materials out on my table that gives you a sense of what a competitive applicant looks like, what the admitted student profile looks like, and again, that mirrors our Academy application and presence as well. Through the Ohio State Academy, we have students from all over the state of Ohio taking classes. So no, I don't anticipate that you're all going to drive to Columbus once or twice a week, but you do have the opportunity to take online courses if they are available to you. So I wanted to highlight that information because certainly it is a good opportunity to take advantage of the rigorous courses that Ohio State has to offer. Again, I think the great thing about CCP and what I think we see most in college admissions is that students are typically doing a little bit of both. They're doing a few classes maybe in CCP, they're doing a few classes maybe of AP courses or honors courses, because at Ohio State, we don't put more value on one over the other. We do value the rigor of your curriculum. So if you are taking CCP courses, honors courses, AP courses that you have available to you, and having 29 at the high school certainly is a large number, that is a significant, important factor in our admissions decisions. Now, I will tell you, while CCP is available to middle school students, the Academy program at Ohio State is unlikely that students that young will be admitted because they have not demonstrated enough high school success in higher level rigorous curriculum that we feel confident that they will be successful at Ohio State, particularly in probably an online environment. It is best, students who are most competitive, who have all of those things, are typically going into their junior and senior year. So again, I'm not saying that those younger students are not admissible, that we've never admitted them before, but the likelihood is that it's going to be an older student who has more of a depth and breadth of high school curriculum on their transcripts that they can show us to demonstrate their preparedness for Ohio State. Now, the other caveat I will share, though, is that Ohio State does have 5 regional campuses that are open enrollment. So they are not going to have as stringent or competitive admissions process as the Columbus campus. Students who do not submit a test score, who maybe perhaps don't have an ACT or SAT test score that demonstrate college readiness, would then be required to take our Accuplacer test, which essentially will then look to see that a student is ready for college level math and English. Again, online courses are available at the regional campuses, but when you apply to CCP, you do have to select the campus that you're interested in. Again, the Columbus campus is going to be the most competitive. The regional campuses are not going to be as stringent, but will still require some demonstration of readiness to take those college level courses. Again, I do want to emphasize that Ohio State is a competitive admissions process for our Columbus campus. We don't have a preference on honors or AP or CCP courses, but we do look for students who are maximizing and challenging themselves to the best of their ability that they have access to. As mentioned, I will be at the table later, and I'm happy to answer any questions about the Academy program or about the university in general. Thanks, everyone. Have a great evening.
Okay. Just a couple housekeeping notes before we conclude here. Thank you for your patience. Obviously, the internet, we're having some issues technically with some of the slides and the visual aids. I will tell you, like I said before, we will get everything up on our website. So anything that you missed from these institutions specifically today that you maybe want to take a look at, we will get to you. Also, like I said before, these folks are upstairs right now on the first floor. So if you go up the stairs, before you head to the doors, when they're in front of you, look to the left. They're set up at some tables. So if you want to grab some of their literature and ask them any specific questions, you can. Again, please be mindful about what your path is, what your strengths are as a student, how you want to grow and mature academically, and really determine ultimately if CCP is the right pathway for you. So thank you, everybody, for coming. Please drive safe, and we look forward to answering any other questions you might have.